So these are the following programs that we have here. The UDP Eco.java, this is for the client, uh, and this is for the server. So first we will discuss the client source code. So we have here three imports. This is the IO, net, dan util. This line here is our class, which is the UDP Eco client. Then we have this data type and variable here, and in here this one is for the address of the host, which is the server. Then if the client didn't found the address of the host, this line here will be executed. This one I did not found, then this line here is for the termination of program. So if the program managed to find the host or the server, this method will execute it. So here we have this one. This is and we will create the datagram socket for our datagram. Then since we need an input from the client, or the message input from the client, so we need an scanner. Here we have string message and response. This is for the message of the client. Then this one is for the response from the server. So here we have the text field for the message of the client to the to the server, and this line here, this message is the container of the data that being put in this text field here. So we have also here the if a statement, the loop as the boolean. If the data or the message is equivalent to this one here, so the program will execute this line here, this one, and it will terminate the program. Execute this line of code here, then it will terminate the program. But if the client didn't put stop word in the text field, so the program will execute this one here. So this one is this line of code here is for the an object. This is an object that it serves as a container for the data that we put in here. Then this line of code here is for sending the data to the server, or the message to the server. So in order to get the datagram from the server, so we use this one. We buffer to receive the datagram. This line here is for buffering for the incoming datagram. This one here is for an object. This one here is an object for the incoming datagram. This will serve as a container of the data from the datagram. Then this one is for the receiving. This one is the one who received the datagram. Then here we have this is where the datagram, the data the data retriever. This one is the one who retrieved the data from this line of code here. So this line here is the responsible for the receiving data. Then this line here is for the printing of those data that we have, of those retrieved data from this code here. Then if the message of the server is equivalent to this word here, so the program will terminate and execute, and the program will execute this line here. then it will terminate the program using this line of code here. This one, datagram socket close. And for the server, so we have three import here: the io.net and the util. So this is our class, this is our data type and variable. And if the client managed to connect, this one here is the first to be execute this opening part. Then we have another datagram socket here, this one, this one here. Then if the client didn't manage to connect to the server, this line here will be executed, then this line for the termination of the program. So if the client managed to connect, this method will executed. Then since this method will execute it, so since we need an input, string input, or the message input to be sent to the client, so we need a scanner. Then this one is this string data type here is for the incoming message. This message out here, this variable here is for the outgoing message. This is from the server, and this one is for the client. We have the counter here, which is the imp message. This variable will serve for the counter of the message. So in order to get the data from the client, so we need to create a buffer. This one is for the incoming buffer for incoming datagram. Then this one is serve as an object or a container for the incoming datagram. And this line of code here, this one here, is for receiving the datagram. And this line of code here also, this line of code is getting the address from this data here, from the container here, or from the object that from the data in this object. This one, the address of the client, and also we have the client port, and this will get the client port from this line of code here. So the next line of code, this one here is intended for the retrieving the data that we have in this line of code here, which is this one. This one is to retrieve the data that being sent by the client, and this one here is for printing the data that we retrieve, and this one is for the message counter on how many message that the client sent. So in sending a message, so we need this text field here. This is where we put our string input to be sent to client, and we have here the message out. This is an object or a container. This is an object or the container of the data that we put here. And this line of code here is the message to be sent to the client, which is this one, is the message, then the number of the message, then what are the message that we put in here. So here the next line is the another object this object, this one here, will serve also as an container for this message out here. The data that we have here and the message out will be put in this object here, and this next line of code here is intended for the sending of the data to the client, and this line of code here is when the program is terminated. So this is the last thing that the computer will execute, and this one is for the termination of the program.